So I'm sure you guys have heard all the camera rumors that are floating around. Are we going to get an A7S4? Or is the FX3 Mark II going to replace the Sony S line? Let's dive in. All right, so it's a rainy day today and there's not a lot I can do, but this has actually been like on my mind for a while now, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion. The rumors are saying that this year is going to be the year that the Sony A7S3 may get updated, or the FX3 Mark II will also be updated and completely overtake the Sony S line. In other words, the FX3 will consume the Sony S line and there'll just be one camera. That makes a lot of sense because the FX3, I believe, shares the same exact sensor as the Sony A7S3, and I think that's also the same sensor in the FX6. So the A7S3 sensor has been shared amongst many different cameras, but I think the A7S3 was just so popular and the S line in general is so popular that they probably wouldn't get rid of it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Now, there are a couple of things that would make me upgrade, but honestly, I'm not that excited. I mean, I still love my Sony A7S3, and it would take a lot for me to upgrade. For example, I've heard that the Sony A7S3 is going to have 6K resolution, probably won't have 8K. Honestly, although 6K would be great, and I think that'd be future-proof enough, I'm not that excited about 8K. They may or may not release it in 8K just to compete with Canon, but with all that extra resolution, you're going to need to get a better laptop or computer. You're going to get more storage. I mean, there's just a lot of costs associated with 8K. And is 8K really being that used right now? I mean, I would argue it's not, right? 6K, I can see the argument for that. 4K, I think, is plenty. That's more than enough. So I don't know if that would necessarily like convince me to jump. Also, I think it's also rumored that the Sony A7S4 or the FX3 Mark II, whichever one, will have 4K up to 240. And again, although that seems really cool, I don't know if it's enough for me to upgrade, because I remember the Sony A7S3 having 4K 120 was like a big selling feature and I was super excited about it. And then when I got it, I hardly used it. Unless clients specifically asked for really slow motion, or if I was shooting something really fast, for example, like a car that's going down the road or burning out, or even sports, I usually just used 4K 60 and that was more than enough. Now, I think for me personally, the number one feature that would convince me to upgrade, hands down, it would be a no-brainer, is if the A7S4 or the FX3 Mark II had internal ND filters. Internal ND filters are a huge game changer. And if they do have internal ND filters, then I'm on board. I'm jumping. Once you've used internal NDs, you will never go back. Now, that's going to be really hard to do and keep IBIS. Yes, I know Sony's higher end cameras are being released, and there's one that was released recently that had IBIS and internal NDs, but it'd be really weird for them to put it into the Sony A7S4. Possibly they might put it in the FX3 Mark II, but unlikely. I mean, you're going to need a lot of space, so the camera's going to have to get a little bigger. If they manage to pull it off, and I think Sony's the company that'll probably figure it out first because they're just so innovative, then hands down, I'm going to upgrade. But if it's just having like 6K resolution, that's not enough for me to upgrade. Or if it's going to have 4K 240 and nothing else, that's not enough for me to upgrade. But if it has both 6K and 4K 240, then that's a little bit more appetizing. But again, it all depends on the price. I feel like the only thing that would get me to switch or to upgrade right now is internal NDs. What do you guys think? What's the number one feature that you're looking for out of the new Sony A7S4 or the FX3 Mark II? Is it a higher resolution? Is it internal NDs? Or is it super slow motion? Now, lastly, the last thing I want to talk about was I'm actually a huge fan of the Canon C70. Never bought it because when it initially first came out, it had a lot of issues. The screen was kind of delicate and it didn't have basic cinema features like waveforms or false colors or anything like that. Since then, though, they've released so many firmware upgrades that now the C70 does feel like a true cinema camera, and it has those cinema features. And of course, it has internal NDs. It doesn't have IBIS. Canon hasn't figured that out yet, but it does have internal NDs, and the eye tracking autofocus is pretty okay. I think it's dual pixel or something like that. Actually, they may have updated that with the latest firmware update, but my point is, there's also a possibility that we're going to get a Canon C70 Mark II, or a variation of it like the C50. That's going to be a slightly smaller body. If they keep internal NDs, upgrade the screen a little bit and add in all those cinema features, and possibly include IBIS, Canon might do it with the C70 Mark II or the C50 or whatever, then I'm keeping my eyes on that too. I've also heard rumors of Canon coming out with the R5 Mark II this year. So I think there's going to be something big coming from Sony or Canon, and we're just going to have to wait and see. But I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Leave me a comment below. Is there a camera that you're really excited about, a feature that you're really excited about? At this point, would you upgrade, or do you think the market's already good as is and it's pretty saturated? That's it for me, guys. Hope you found this video informative, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.